What's good, G Life? This right here is beautiful Killer Cali, California. You already know California is homebound headquarters, gang capital, home of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different gangs and thousands of documented gang members right here in California. And like I had said in the episode where I covered the Cyclones neighborhoods, where I said that with so many different gangs and, being around since the 1800s, these gangs have, transpired and used a bunch of different names to brand themselves, whether it be locos, criminals, cyclones, bandits, and etc. You do have another one that is often used a lot by gangs and, also to name gang members and cliques, Um, and not only that, but since it's a common thing, you're going to have several neighborhoods that use this as their title of their neighborhoods. So often than not, do these neighborhoods get confused with each other, but they're all different barrios. So today we shall be covering all Rascal neighborhoods. Because Rascals is a common name that people brand themselves, nicknames, neighborhoods, cliques, and etc. So obviously you're going to get neighborhoods that, have this on the title of their name that often get confused for each other. So with no further ado, let's get into it. Street raised, I was brought up with a G state. Peep game, those who didn't catch one to your brain. Stay in your lane, never wolfed it, boy, I never fake. Watch them break, watch them fall, still I remain. Never change, never try to come and rearrange. Never hate, never tripping on somebody's plate. That shit is lame, leave that type of shit for the dames. The streets don't play, yo, catch up, watch your life as capes. One game, homie, that you shouldn't play. There's real soldiers in the streets gunning every day. This shit is normal in the vital part of every day. It ain't great, but I'm loyal, so I'll never change. I keep repeating, but I mean it, never lose your way. Heed the warning and the missing just for talking brave. Fuck my enemies, two faces and all the snakes. Now for this matter, just name the time and name the place. We'll get it active, fuck the gap, and I mean face to face. Real gangsters never fold, then we never shake. I was brought up to... Now, we shall be starting off with the original Rascals neighborhood, the original one, the old school, the largest, and the one that it probably is more recognizable when we're talking about Rascal neighborhoods. It's probably the first one that will come into people's minds, and because of, its reputation, it's been around, it's been doing its thing. Obviously, Rascals is a common, name. People hear it. It was even a TV show. It was a movie since back in the days, the Little Rascals. So it was a common thing for individuals to name themselves Rascals or their neighborhoods and etc. Now, to find the first and original one, we shall be having to make our way to the area of Nella, northeast Los Angeles, to the area that is known as Outwater Village. Outwater Village is home to the TRS neighborhood. The TRS translating to Barrio the Rascals, Outwater Rascals. It is one of several neighborhoods in Outwater. From the Outwater, which is no longer around, but, they still have some vets, the Tunerville gang, and the Rascals neighborhood. Now, the Rascals neighborhood extended everything that was from Glendale Boulevard. Glendale Boulevard, the territory still exceeded all the way to where the riverbed is at. And from the riverbed, their territory stretched out towards where the freeway was at. And from the freeway, their territory still extended back around. So everything that was in the middle was considered their barrio. Throughout Minneapolis Street, throughout Silver Lake Boulevard that sliced through their neighborhood, throughout Tyburn Street, Large, Outwater, Glenhurst, Hollydale, Grace, all of that. All of that was considered their barrio, you know what I mean? Which is a very large, chunk of territory. But it in itself was not a large gang within this area. Roughly a few hundred members to them within this area. And they started off in the 80s. They started off as the Outwater Boys, but then, changed their name to the Rascals. So they've been around since the 80s doing their thing. Now, originally they had started to combat, being oppressed, being picked on by neighborhoods and older barrios that were around in the area, barrios like Tunaville and the avenues, which are large and old school barrios in themselves. So to defend against, these guys, trying to press on them, they banded together and formed the Rascals neighborhood. And now this neighborhood, throughout time, it's became more larger. When I said that they're in the hundreds, I mean they're in the hundreds within this area. But in total, this neighborhood is roughly about 300 or more members to them, because they are just not located here, but they are located in Moreno Valley, so in the Inland Empire, Hesperia, Mexico, and several other spots. So they do have members that started off branches in different locations with clicas and all of that, because they do have several cliques to their barrio. So this neighborhood has expanded outside of Nella. So it's just not located here, but this is the original home base, home grounds. This is where they started. And yes, they are the same ones as the ones in the IE and Mexico and Hesperia and all of that. It's all the same Rascals neighborhood. You have members that move, establish, plant their flag, and and all of that. So you do have clicas of theirs. That handle business. Like I said, they have several cliques to them. And this neighborhood is known to handle business, even though it's not the largest and it's not as old school as some of the barrios within this area. Don't ever get it twisted. I mean, these individuals have been, hit with everything in the books as well, from sweeps and all that, from drug trafficking, gun sale, all of that, the works, allegedly. So this neighborhood, is in the mix and does handle business within this area. It's a well-known neighborhood. And probably the first one when people think about the Rascals, probably the one that pops into people's minds when we're talking about Rascal neighborhoods. But yes, this is the original one, the largest that holds it down right here in Nellis for the Outwater Village and the Rascals neighborhood. Now, to find the next neighborhood, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the area of West LA, the MacArthur Park area. A well-known and dangerous area within LA County. It's one of the areas when people think about gangs, Hispanic gangs, they think about this area in particular because it is home-bred to some of these, original old school barrios, that have been right here established and, causing havoc. The MacArthur area is no secret that it is known for its crime and violence, murders, and etc. And because you have so many different Hispanic gangs jam-packed within this area, that fight for turf, and you already know how it is, battle for territory, drug sales, and all of that. Now, this is home to one of these Rascals neighborhoods, but this Rascal neighborhood hasn't been around that long. The reason for that is because this neighborhood used to be a tagging crew that hadn't even been around that long. It roughly started roughly around the later 90s and didn't become a neighborhood roughly into the 2014s, roughly around there. So they don't have even that long, being established. But they climbed up the ladder and reached them ranks and handled business. They were doing real things, which is the Varrio car. Car, yes, like a car that you drive, CAR. Car translating to Varrio, Crazy Ass Rascals. Crazy Ass Rascals is a neighborhood right here within the MacArthur Park area. And it is a real barrio, a small barrio, but nonetheless a real neighborhood. The Crazy Ass Rascals reside right here in the area of LST translating to Little Street. It's their clica because that is where they're at. That's home base, home ground. That's where they do their thing right there on Little Street. So everything within that area, which is like First and Seventh and all of that. But Little Street being their home dojo, their domain where they do it and get it on and crack it. Now, this neighborhood, at least from what I was told, is roughly about 55 members max. So roughly one of the more smaller sets because you have so many different neighborhoods. Like I said, within that area, and we're talking about old school riders like Crazy Riders and Playboys and all kinds of different neighborhoods. So it makes recruitment a little bit more difficult, but nonetheless, these guys planted their flag and continue to represent theirs and the Rascals neighborhood on the map. Another barrio that you have that represents the Rascals, but for this one, we actually have to be making our way to the area of Orange County, the OC. The OC is home to one of these Rascals neighborhoods, so we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the city of Orange, to be exact. The city of Orange is where you're able to find the ESR neighborhood. ESR translating to East Side Rascals. East Side Rascals is a neighborhood that is well spread out through the city of Orange. One, it used to be a tagging crew, so it's roughly small. It hadn't been around that long, a crew that was roughly around in the later 90s early 2000s when it was established. Roughly, this neighborhood is only about 40 members to them, at least from what I was told. But nonetheless, that they're a real neighborhood that do their thing right there for the East Side Rascals. Pretty much just spread out through the city of Orange, because how I said that there used to be a crew, they didn't really establish, and planted the flag in a particular area. They kind of just wherever they, are, they represent and hold it down for the East Side Rascals and their barrio. Like I said, not an old school barrio and not a large one, but nonetheless a real neighborhood that does their thing and, represents the East Side Rascals. Now, to find the next neighborhood on the list, now this one actually I'd be getting asked a lot about. And for it, we have to actually travel to the area that is known as East Los Angeles. Yes, East LA, the actual East Los Angeles area. Who many people know, it is the area and home of the Maravilla gangs. Maravilla, obviously, it's an old school barrio in itself with several sub-gang cliques. They all fall under the Maravilla umbrella, but they're their own individual sub-gang cliques. Now, this one is different from like I said, all the Rascals neighborhoods are different, and which is the Rasco Locos Maravilla. Rasco Locos is one of the sets that I get asked for a lot because they write 13, because they are a 13. And like I said, they're different from the other Rascals neighborhood. These ones are Maravillas because they're clicked up with the projects, Maravilla, and the High Times. So it's Maravilla, Projects, High Times, and Rascals. They're all clicked up because each Maravilla each clique is their own sub gangs, because Maravilla neighborhoods don't get along with each other. There's different cliques and they have beef with each other and it's on and cracking. But some of them do align themselves together. And one of them is, like I said, Maravilla Projects, High Times, and the Rasco Locos, RLS, Rasco Locos. And yes, these ones are 1-3. They make sure they always write in and stuff like that. These ones do align themselves with that. And I know people get confused, like, what? I thought Maravillas were 13s, and what they will. Like I said, they roll with us, but they're just different. It gets confusing without talking about the prison politics behind it and all that. And you guys already know on my channel, I don't discuss that. So that's just the way it is, bro. There's no beef or animosity, no more. That was back then, but I know people won't understand unless I dive into that. And like I said, maybe you could find a channel that will dive into that. But like I said, I just got my rules I got to follow. But yes, the Rasco Locos Maravillas is a real neighborhood. Like I said, it's not fake. It's not somebody putting a prank. Like I see people write like, nah, I think it's fake. No. It's the real deal, Holyfield. They've been around already for a long time. Not as old as some of these other Maravilla sets, but no, they've been around doing their thing. Now, they're not a large Maravilla set. Roughly, at least from what I was told, is the Rascals are only about like 50 to 60 members. In itself, because they're clicked up with the other Maravilla sets, yeah, they're a lot more larger. They're in the hundreds, you know what I mean, with all of them aligned. But it in itself, individually, is, roughly only that. And their neighborhood is everything that's from Hamel Street, all the way to Ford Boulevard. Ford Boulevard, their territory extends all the way to Cesar Chavez. And Cesar Chavez, their territory goes all the way to Medinick, and back around. So everything that's throughout Dozer Street is their territory. Dozer and Dangler Avenue, and also McDonald Avenue as well. Everything that's throughout close to the Ladies Soledad School. So throughout those back streets is considered a neighborhood. Like I said, it's not a large amount of territory, and they're surrounded by other much larger Maravilla sets. But nonetheless, they handle business right here, obviously close to the projects. And they do their thing, and they are a real neighborhood that represents for theirs and continues to put theirs on the map for the Rascals Maravilla, the Rascal Locos right there. Another Rascals neighborhood that you have for this one, we actually have to be maneuvering our way outside of California to the area of Washington and Oregon. These areas are home to one of these Rascal neighborhoods that are homeboys. They are known as the STR translating to Sur Town Rascals. Sur Town Rascals is a well-known out-of-state Sureño neighborhood with roughly members, at least from what I was told, is 80 to 100 members to them, spread out. But nonetheless, real individuals. I was hearing people try to say that this is not a real neighborhood. No, it's a real gang. And so it's the real deal. Like I said, I covered them also in the Sur Town breakdown when I covered all Sur Town neighborhoods because it's a common name and they're all different. They're not the same. Just they have the Sur Town, attached to them, but they're their own individual gangs. This one being the Rascals. And like I said, a real neighborhood, real out of state Sureños that hold it down in Washington and, be representing out there, holding it down. At least from what I was told, it's one of its well known Washington and Oregon neighborhoods that's well established, going at it with, several other neighborhoods like MS, 18, and etc. like that. So it does get on and cracking. Don't get it twisted. The Sur Town Rascals is a real neighborhood and continue to put theirs on the map.